Good morning. Welcome to a new episode of Tech Stack Reimagined. Trying something different today. We've got new platforms while also trying to organize all of what's been done in terms of content. Here with Nico. How you doing today, man?
Doing very well, sir. Doing very well. Per usual, maximizing my screens to to be able to ensure that all this is running. So I've got LinkedIn over here. I got YouTube up here. I've got another LinkedIn down here, and I got the other LinkedIn over there. While we have this in the middle, just to make sure everything is running fine and dandy. Didn't have this capability before, but 2025. On top of just quite literally kicking ass and taking names when it comes to bottoming out uh software problems. uh I think the number one thing I love to hear from people on a weekly basis is like some software issue that's plaguing them, because it just pops like immediately. My mind is just like, oh, okay, let me just write that down so I can just build that later this afternoon. And it's like, we'll make that a reality, make that happen. So yeah, my latest venture is data quality, you know, and and data quality is such a big deal. And everybody needs it taken care of, and everybody needs their data fixed in a lot of different ways, especially I think most especially when it comes to formatting. I think is like one of the bigger ones where people tend to basically it's that the the pain in the ass of going through and figuring out like, oh, okay, what does this acronym relate to, and is that the right state, and is this the right way that we should be um, um, organizing things, right? So, given that that's a big deal, and that it's a big problem, and that it's kind of like everybody's problem, uh, taking it upon myself to build out a data quality tool that hopefully sort of like fixes all of those issues. Obviously, love to do the one foul swoop deal as well. So pretty much everything is like as push button as possible. And yeah, I'm very much looking forward to putting this one out there. It's gonna be a freebie because the whole thing is just gonna run pretty much on algorithms. But what is the few things that are going to leverage OpenAI model, it'll be connected to my GPT. And again, the few things that do leverage AI, the token the token ask is so tiny in terms of what data is getting updated. I'm already running another application that uses way more tokenage than this ever probably will. And yeah, it's just the cost on what I'm running in the background is, I think, up until now. So I've been like running with this thing for about 2 months now. I think it's cost me 250. Right. And I think I've burned through like, I don't, again, like it's, you can do the math because you can go look at the prices. It's like 10 million tokens in, 8 million tokens out. Like, I don't know, something like that. Um, so in other words, the cost is so negligible to me that I don't give a shit. I'm already paying for my server space anyway. So that's the only thing that really needs to host it. The scripts are running all the algos, so it's not even that big a deal. Um, yeah, so I'm looking forward to dropping that one next week. Seriously excited about it because also been playing around with not necessarily new tools, but the same tools in a new way. So came across uh, I shouldn't say came across, but kind of just like dug further, took it one step further with Visual Studio yesterday, and started getting into custom models within Visual Studio. So even though you can use like GPT-5 and Grok and all these other models, you can actually create these Git files that that the VS model or your Git model reads. So you have like Git Copilot. It's actually looking for those files right out the gate. Even if you don't have them in place, it would otherwise be looking for them. if you have them in place, it goes to them immediately. And these Git files are amazing because you can put custom instructions in there, progress files in there, like all sorts of stuff that like really helps to minimize the amount of time that the model is spending trying to figure out the project you're working on. Um, Quite literally, there's this like instruction set that you can ask it to build. I swear this is recent because I didn't see this before. Um, and I see it now in there like every time I open up a chat window, and it's amazing. So that's kind of taking the game to the next level, and then doing the custom model aspect of things also absolutely helps to take things to the next level because um, it's yeah, like, and I can just
So I've been, as Nico has continued to talk about this for many months at this point, I've been wondering how either I was gonna start doing it myself or actually like start doing it to try and solve, you know, uh, some of the challenges I've had, you know, and it feels like I'm finally at that point. And we're looking at your LinkedIn right now, uh, just
okay,
so you know. Um, and we're also trying out some new software today,
there
uh,
we go.
Streamlabs, um, to see if we can have a little more fun with streaming different screens and making it easier to follow along. Because I think a lot of what we're going to show today is just the ability to um, have multiple streams of work happening at the same time, right? And we've talked about it plenty of times before, but this is where, like, let's say if we're just talking about software engineering or app development, this
Mhm.
world of needing to focus on one thing at a time, like, is over uh, when you're utilizing these tools effectively, because the person with all the expertise, let's say that engineer, if you really only want them to focus on one thing, then those are the moments where we're seeing a lot of cutbacks. And how do we save time if this thing is our only focus, or we can't get to that part of the roadmap yet, or all the reasons that people just try to pare back instead of realize more value from the one person that could be working on 5 things, 10 things, like at a time, because they are utilizing all this agentic activity to get things going. And then, like, it's getting better and better at being able to do that. Um, so this is my attempt today to kind of experience some of that. Maybe this will be the moment that I start to, spin up my own Replit account or something like that. Or
I hope so.
I doubt it because I have access. Uh, um, I'm trying hard, either subconsciously or consciously, not to like learn it all right now, you know,
Okay. Yeah.
um, because a lot of the challenges of AI adoption is not like products and feature sets, and a lot of it's just sharing and building trust milestones with people and trying to figure out how to talk about it in a way that even when you don't, um, even when you do show somebody how easy it is to do something,
Yeah.
there's still like, oh, it's not going to work for my situation, or I got to do it this way. And whenever I try to do it that way, I don't get good outputs. Like, trying to overcome those, really, like, basically the irrational side of humans and how they want things to work versus just letting go the time, right? Because at the end of the
Yeah.
day, article's not getting posted unless it happens through this process, right? I'm not going to go back and write it myself or pay somebody else to do it. It's either getting created this way or it's not getting created at all, right? And I think um that's a gap like for a lot of folks when they focus on time savings and efficiency, 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 like instead of what could we do, right? And that's where
Mhm.
watching and Replit has been always been fascinating. And we'll see what we can do today in terms of this longstanding problem for me, which is erring on the other side of like create, 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 and not necessarily like organize and make it consumable and searchable and discoverable. YouTube can only do so much for you, and especially when everything's live, it's like a completely different channel on YouTube,
Yeah.
which you know first started discovering that when I started working with Agent AI. And there's like these ready-made tools like, oh, just go get the transcript on YouTube, like just use this tool, like push this button, and then it'll start getting YouTube stuff. That wasn't working. And it took a minute to figure out why. And it's because there's basically on demand,
Mhm.
like YouTube, where you do the thing beforehand and then you upload the video, and then there's live YouTube, right?
Yeah.
And like once you go into your YouTube studio, it's like, duh. I mean, they're on two separate tabs. Like YouTube treats it differently in a lot of ways. Um, and that's where my whole motion of doing things a little bit differently on LinkedIn, a little bit differently on YouTube is now like with the when the models are trained on how the rest of the free world does it, right?
I like that.
That's the troubleshooting. That's like I don't get to you know, enjoy the all of the tools and apps that have already been created. So not that I'm trying to justify my lack of like having this ready, and really repurposing it in this way.
Yeah.
But this is the sacrifice made because I chose to go live on LinkedIn in a different way every day and then just stream over to YouTube because it's there and it's going to be easier to find than it is on LinkedIn. Not a
Mhm.
ton easier, but a little bit easier because YouTube's built for that, but it's not built for that,
Right.
right? Keep finding those moments. And that's where AI can help once you give it the direction. But it's like a completely different set of, tokens and variables and all the things that aren't necessarily built in. So I'm excited to try and build that out today with you. And I've got some sheets. But like, so how do you, before we dive in, like, I know you always talk about how it's not just Nico going to Replit and being like, I want this, and then just exclusively working in Replit to get it done. Like, what is the prep? As I describe that problem and the solves, I want an app that is the repository of all my YouTube content that makes it discoverable and searchable and keeps it organized and keeps it up to date so that anybody can come in and find what they need. Um, and that's the output, right? How do you
Okay.
start to get ready for that? I know I could go. This is where the times I've tried Replit is I'm hearing
Mhm.
how easy it is, and then I go do that with Replit, and you know, uh, it it doesn't it doesn't work out as
No.
easily as everybody says it does.
Yeah,
Right.
and I can understand, like, that it doesn't, and I can also kind of understand why. Um, part of part of it is what we've talked about, before with others, that, working with AI tools, and the reason why we say, like, work with them as a person is because it really is, like, you know, you start to basically understand, like, yeah, it's a team that you're working with in order to get something done. It's not necessarily just the one tool to solve them all. even though you are using this team to build those consolidation tools, right? So, um, you know, where do we start? It's kind of awesome, and it's really really awesome when you say that to me, because my team used to just consist of like maybe one or two wide, where it was like Replit plus one or two other generative AI tools, um, just in terms of like doing the logistics of it and doing the logistics of building out the app. And then of course you have like Suno if you wanted to add sound to whatever you're doing, or you have like Midjourney if you want to add art to whatever you're doing. But you know, you start with the program basics. So I can say that, like, again, I just want to preface this by saying that I don't know jack shit about coding. I have no background in coding, no background in programming, no background in development. So everything I say could absolutely be wrong, and I'm sure that a developer will pull their hair out at watching this episode. That all said, um, while I may not know what I'm doing, I know how to ask for what it is that I want to do, right? And then at the same time, what that's so that ends up being where people stop and don't go one step further. And the whole point of like the four tenets is like you have to take it one step further. Excuse me. So you take it one step further than that, you know what you want. The model you're working with isn't necessarily going to be built out to do exactly what it is that you want. So even if you're using Replit, you're still kind of talking to an open faced GPT, especially if you don't give it any sort of files to go off of. And even if you don't give it like visual files to go off of, is like, you know, you're just giving it a text description. Yeah, we're really shooting in the dark, right? And like the text description had better be really good, the context had better be amazing, and you better have like some sort of like programming language in there, maybe, to really help guide the ship. Otherwise, yeah, you're going to kind of end up with this sort of abomination of an application that you then spend, you know, $15, $20, $30 massaging the hell out of until it gets to like looking something like what you wanted. So again, it used to be just like a couple layers deep. Now it's actually 3 layers deep and probably going to stay permanently 3 layers deep. So the first place I start is Perplexity, actually. And what I like to do is go and look at, let me pull this up. Basically, I like to go and research whatever it is that, not necessarily whatever it is we're trying to do, but like, so first off, we'll build a space because we're doing a new idea or a new application or whatever it is. And we'll call this, LBM, media handler. Okay. And, scraping together ideas, methods for handling content distribution. Okay. And so then we're actually going to go over to GPT. You know, like it's a good thing this is recorded. I'm gonna redistribute it because yeah, I don't like to go slow. It is what it is. So keep up. Um, go over to GPT. I've posted this before, but you know, go look for it. Custom prompt and instruction designer. So why that? Because we actually have settings in here, and we can actually give instructions. So give instructions of Perplexity to customize how answers are focused and structured. So we're doing here. Hey, buddy, I'm working on a new project and I need to do some research for it. And the specific research is related to how it is that I can build a multimedia application where it takes content that I have that maybe I've live streamed and it records that live stream, uh, takes that recording and then cuts it up into clips and takes the audio, turns that into a podcast and uses the audio and transcripts it so that it can then create a blog, and then takes like images from the video and like clips of that basically and turns that into an email, and then also like adds all of that content to my website. So what I'm looking for in particular is I'm working with Perplexity, and so I want some custom instructions for how the answers should be structured for what it is we're doing. So basically, giving Perplexity like as much context as possible to what it is that we're doing, so that it understands that this is what we're looking for in the answers that it brings back. So like Perplexity is awesome because it's just great open search and it's amazing at what it can search for, but it's a nuclear missile of search, right? So it does a great and amazing. Copy that, come back over to Perplexity. That's amazing. That is the oh, and we are 4K over. That's what I figured. Okay. Can you please summarize while maintaining the that should help. Okay. And okay.
In the background, I have a set of spreadsheets with a lot of like content export information from YouTube and LinkedIn that we'll provide at some point. Because like best case scenario, it'd be just like giving those sheets uh, as like the structure and the like understanding of this is how much content there is. And but there's a lot of overlap in those sheets. There's obviously duplication between LinkedIn posts and YouTube um, uh, streams, and all of this thanks to my just messiness and chaos of the way that I've gone about, creating all this content. Um, so as I was talking to Claude about it, uh, he says it much more eloquently than I did, of course. It's like, you want to create a content management and discovery system for your 600 plus shows across LinkedIn and YouTube using Replit and AI tools. That's correct. That's what we're trying to do here.
Yeah. So first, I want to go to 5 thinking. Probably look in the last year since we're talking about Replit. Web should do, but academic would be fine too. And then yeah, so we're looking to so actually, do you want to copy paste that abstract? Oh, you know what? Actually, here we go. So enter teammate number 2. So what we did was made a project out of the data. And so this is something like super interesting that I love doing, which is let me turn.
Well, those are the Google Sheets that I gave you. Nice.
What would you surmise is your role based on the data that you've been given?
Oh, wow.
I love doing that so much.
Yeah. Well, similarly, like whenever I start up a new Claude project, it's like it's easy to assume that just everything is like seen at all times. I'm always like, I know you have instructions and there's files. Please confirm. Please confirm how you understand your instructions and the files that you have. Right? I've never tried this though, and I'm going to now. But starting with any instructions, it's basically, what do you think we're up to here, man?
Right.
And that's like the best way to confirm how well everything else is built. or how messy it is, how chaotic it is. Like, because as I was starting to inform Claude of what we're trying to accomplish today, like we were on for like an extra hour or so yesterday, like talking about things we want to work on after our show. And I pulled that hour and I gave it to Claude and I was like, hey man, do you know what we're trying to do today on our live show? It was not successful, understand, because we were
Oh
all
man.
over the place. We were all over the place in that conversation. So like it would have been very I would have been very impressed. Be like, yep, this moment here is exactly when you guys were talking about the show with only this because we were talking about all kinds of medias, all kinds of projects, like all kinds of like and all the different pillars that we work on. So until I gave it some structure to like, no, look for this specific topic, like inside of the hour-long transcript.
Yeah.
And until I did that, it was like, oh, okay, I know what you're talking about now. Um,
And media.
and this is where like it's hard to a lot of people are, making predictions. I think even you can bet money on it. Uh, like which is the best model, like at the end of the year or something like that. And a lot of people are predicting that to be whatever model Google has, like Gemini 3.0. And this stack, like in theory, if everything's available on YouTube and it is in the Google tech stack, like it should be easiest to connect the dots effectively, like with Gemini. Um, and I think over time, it's hard to, at least if all your content, like Google, between Google Workspace and Google Drive and YouTube, like any of the Google products, like if your stuff is there, similar to what we talk about with HubSpot, like if all the business context is there, try to use HubSpot tooling when you can, because all of the like the memory, all the black boxy kind of stuff that's happening with AI, like it takes longer when there's like a higher volume of API calls or there's a higher volume of data flowing between different systems where the data never existed and now it's showing up for the first time and the AI has to understand it versus, it's Nico. What if we just turn this into an app right now? Right. And it's like a one button click away. I'm like, sure, let's
Well,
see.
that's the funny part is if I had Canvas enabled, it would. With every response, it would continually ask me like, "Do you want me to build this out into like a React front end? Like, what's up?" So, and
Right.
it's like, yeah, yeah, that would, at any time, whenever you're ready. Basically, like as far as this conversation goes, and that's why I work with Gemini and GPT because Gemini has a million token context. Well, I've got the pros. I've got a 2 million token context window. Um, GPT-5 also has a 2 million token context window. So um, it's just the amount of space to be able to work with basically is so insane that it makes it too easy to want to work with these models a bit more than the others. But it's to me still like six of one, half the other. Um, but so like what we've done is we've gotten our researcher pulled together. We've got our gem pulled together. Our gem is basically our researcher's helper, right? Because it understands the data, so it understands how to ask questions to build the application about the data, about doing that for the data. Um, so what we can do, let's see, this sharing. Yep, yep. No, close. And yeah, like I talk to them like they're people. So I don't like, so when I, need to get a model to do something in particular, I don't try to trick and say like, "Oh yeah, give me this thing so that I can do it this way," right? When the reality is, I want, I'm trying to do it for this autonomous thing. I'm trying to do it for agents. If you even like, if you start vibe coding that way, and you start vibe coding in the sense of like, "Hey, I want to build this application so that it's agentically friendly and modular," your app is going to look amazingly different, and it's actually going to look nicer in terms of UI UX. It will make more sense to you because it's going to be built out for something like a screen reader to be able to very easily understand and see where the different things are. Um, okay, so we're looking for, yeah, sure, not necessarily, but requirements. Actually, this is not bad. Yeah, this, I mean, that's not bad. We'll need that later.
Integration with HubSpot.
This is actually really good for just like an overall builder. Let me see. Yeah, hold on. Let's see how that works out. Canvas. Okay. Come back to here. That's insane for that being like an entire series of directive. But let's see. I don't mind doing that either. Now, normally I would break this up into all four. So I would research all four separately, which, yeah, you know what? Let's do it. Because it's not going to take that long for deep research to find this. So we'll do academic and web. Off you go. New one. And category 2. And this is like what you're watching is legitimately the way that I usually go through things or put stuff together. Category 3. Because this is like, so this is part of that whole like building context / I don't really know the thing, but it knows the things. So I might as well get the data from it and put together the thing that I need to know how to do. Right. So I'll just build a digital copy of the thing that I need. And so now when I go back to this space, eventually when all these things show up, they'll be, or like once all of this research finishes, it'll become a part of this overall space, which will then allow me to not only query against this data specifically, but then I can add additional resources if I want to. But the better part of it is that the results of all of this research is then going to be able to get used in a lab from Perplexity, which can basically build out our rough front end, or at least give us an idea of what it could look like. But also, given all the research, it can give us a better abstract that we can then hand over to either Gemini or GPT to be able to foster that for us. So, given that Gemini has already kind of given directions, that's the only thing. Let's see. It sucks that you can't do deep research straight out of Gemini, and that's one thing that I love about Perplexity that is really strong about it is you can actually you can deep research after an answer is given, right? So like you can deep research something, then search something, then deep research another thing, then search, then and just keep going back and forth. And then you can go into a lab afterwards. So you can do this amazing compilation, right? And so this is all the data that it's putting together for us. In terms of it's looking at optimal lengths for cutting the videos together, right? For cutting shorts. Short form, it's looking for transcription accuracy, which one to use, what's the best transcription accuracy app. I can tell just by the listings of it. Putting together your demos for like where you're going to be able to launch your content most effectively. So that's just the AI side of it. Let's see. On the ROI side, cost per asset tracking, number of assets per month, engagement rates that you're looking for, benchmarks that you're trying to hit. Are you guys starting to see like why this methodology starts to create like the most powerful shit you've ever seen? Couple more minutes left on this to bake. So while that's doing that, there's overall engagement in the best way possible. So I'd like you to just comb through it all and then come back and put together like the most killer spreadsheet that you've ever put together to represent that data. And then if you don't mind, if you could kick off a presentation, a deck, so that, you know, I could explain it to other people, would be great. And that's just for shits and giggles. Like, just set that up just to do it. Like, I wish I could set it up so that you could see what it actually looks like, but this is a rough representation of like what my day looks like in terms of like how much stuff is running at any given time. It really does like ends up looking like this, just on separate monitors where I'm just watching things do stuff all day. So we'll stop doing that now. But yeah, so we'll have that guy going and doing research. So this one's completed. Modern content pipelines, rely hybrid, cool. AWS. Okay, so we're not really, if we had the time, we would look over the data, go over it with a fine tooth comb, make sure that everything that is here is legitimate, even though I know I don't have to because it's pulling it directly from the HubSpot developer documentation. So question about why are you doing it in Perplexity instead of doing it in Gemini or chat or whatever, because, you know, don't you love all those applications? I do, but I also love the truth so much more. And so if I'm trying to get like, I wouldn't say like necessarily, you know, I don't want to call it maximally truth seeking. But if I'm trying to get like the absolute, you know, definitely the right answer because it was like researched and all that kind of thing, then yes, then I'm going to Perplexity because it's going directly to sources and it doesn't like try to make shit up on its own, basically, and it doesn't try to like put stuff, you know, put things together on its own. It's not trying to summarize or surmise anything.
And again, okay, you come to like the foundation of the model. That was the original purpose of Perplexity, to do like real research, gather research for researchers.
Yeah.
Right. So it's built, that's why it's built better to do that stuff. That's with the DNA of the platform. That's how it started.
Okay. So this guy's just off and running, doing his own thing, which, by the way, if you haven't used agents like to do stuff online before, you should, because you can actually run them and then take them over. So when it comes to like logging into stuff and logging into services and stuff like that, even when it comes to logging into HubSpot, you can like surf to whatever the page is, take over the application, do the login, and have it go and finish whatever the directive is. So yeah, like to what Chris was saying, we can definitely take the same thing, copy that, go over to Gemini still. And I'm not going to sit around and wait for all of this stuff, but just to show that you could. And what's really cool about Gemini is it's going to come back with this alternative map of like how it's going to go about doing the research. And what's cool about that is you can take that over to yet another model and ask yet another model to do research in that same way to see if Gemini's research lines up to the other one. I've done the same thing where I'll do numerous deep researches from multiple models, put them all together in a singular gem or custom GPT or project or whatever, and just ask the data, ask questions of the data, which are the most commonly true things among the data sets, right? And then build me a report based on all of the common matching things from these data sets, right? Okay, so we've got this research pulled together. I'm not going to bother with the other research. So, we've got search, we've got research, and then you got labs. So you can just kick on labs, and we don't want any resources because we want to leverage everything that we've got in the space already. So we're just going to say, given the data from the space and the objective, the application, please follow, or please web app. Okay, and then come back here and we say, oh God, I really hate that. Okay, given that we have all the research results that we need from all of this data, what I'd like you to do is create the application abstract for this in as much detail as you can. Specifically, I'm looking for the front end design, and we're looking to knock that out in React. But otherwise, ignore any other technical specifications, languages, or tech stacks. And again, this is not stuff I expect you guys to know, because not everybody's a programmer. So like not everybody would know to ask for like the abstract of an application and to add those details in there and that kind of stuff. I swear, as you start working with this stuff, you start learning it, right? And if I had to estimate, I don't know what it would cost you to take a programming class, let's say, to learn how to build applications and stuff like that. I do know what it cost me monetarily to get to this point, and I can tell you it's less than $500. And I consider that to be amazing compared to, compared to the thousands of dollars that people spend to try to learn anything close to this, right? So how does this align in terms of the overview?
All right. The LVM content.
Mind you, Chris already did one on Claude side and said, yeah, this is exactly what I wanted, right?
Is a single-page web application designed to completely automate the post-production workflow of Let's Build Media's live content. The core purpose is to serve as zero configuration digital Dropbox that receives a live video stream and systematically processes it into a valuable, organized, and multifaceted content asset within HubSpot. The application eliminates hours of manual labor per session, dramatically increasing content velocity and enabling faster repurposing across marketing channels. The user experience is guided by a fire and forget philosophy. The user's only responsibility is to start the stream. Application handles the rest, providing clear real-time feedback throughout the automated process.
We dig it. Okay. So without further ado, we'll just grab that. It's already got like some cool type stuff. So I'm going to do two different things. I'm going to grab this, but you noticed I haven't enabled tools this entire time. So let's go ahead and do that. Hey buddy, do me a favor and just knock out the front end of this, a model of it in React, just so that we can see what it looks like and pass that off to the developer as well. So they've got a visual to go along with this abstract. I just want to make sure it's going to actually do what it asks it to do.
The question I have is it too focused on the internal process part and less on the like external usability part, like so that somebody could come in and like do a natural language search of like, hey, I'm looking for a CPQ like content related to HubSpot, and then they'd be able to find the videos.
That would be a secondary layer to what it is, but yes, we can add that very easily.
Yeah.
All right, so just in doing that, but let's get back to this guy. And give him all of the same stuff. Blah, 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 blah. Here we go. Okay. Bye-bye. All right, so that's going. Research almost done over here. Agents still knocking it out there. Believe me when I say we're going to have the agents and the research, if possible. Let me say, yep, we're going to have them both build out their sort of ideas for it. Okay, so Gemini research is what I was talking about before. It actually takes what some of the other models, they take your research and then they ask you questions to try to refine it. What I love about Gemini is it takes your research request and then breaks it down into what it's going to do, so that you can ahead of time see, like, okay, is it actually going to look for the things that I asked it to, or is it going to kind of go off course, or did I forget to ask it something and I need to go back and add it in there before we actually get started? Because it has happened to me plenty of times where I've put something into deep research and then I hit go and it's like, damn, I forgot to add this one metric in there, or I forgot to add this one dimension in there. So I think it's actually kind of cool that you have that ability. And then we'll just go send him off to go do his thing. Come back to the content engine. So this is what we're looking like so far. Not the greatest thing in the world, right? But still something. Again, just like a front end that we're looking at. So we wanted it. Okay, yeah. So another part of the application is that in the end, we also want it to have a storage on the back end of it where a user can basically open up the application and also be able to search for content. This is the nice part about vibe coding, is that, like, I forgot about this feature. Can you throw that feature in there? Right. And like, if I really wanted to, I could actually like stop Perplexity and be like, yeah, sorry, I forgot about this thing. Or I could just like go up to the prompt and edit the prompt and be like, yeah, actually, could you throw this thing in there as well? But they're already running. I don't want to, kill a whole bunch of time. I love Gemini is always so like positive in terms of, man, that was the greatest idea you've ever come up with. Yeah, of course, let's put it in there. It's so like, out of all the affirmation models, Gemini is by far and away like the most affirmative model. It just wants to be the nicest. I love that it's remembered now that, like, hey, we're building this for an agent, so don't try to be like human with how you write the code. Like, write it short form.
Yeah.
Because normally apps like this would, like, I don't know, eat up tons of. I mean, this is 168. If it was doing it in like the normal style, you can see that this goes all the way out here, because I'm sure at some point. Yep. So instead of like actually putting this on the multiple lines that a normal human would, which would take up an insane amount of lines vertically, which takes an insane amount of time for the model to digest, instead it's doing it in a shortened format, and it's saving us a hell of a lot of space, especially when it comes to editing. All right, so now you got a content library too. So let's see. While preserving the containers of the content library, can you please remove the dummy data?
What is the dummy data?
Like just the names and stuff in here.
But that's not dummy data. That's real stuff.
Oh, this is? Oh, it's from, actually. Never mind. We'll back out of it. Hold on. Doop. Don't kill yourself. Hold on. Go to code. Don't flip out. Cool. All right. So it didn't actually. Did you finish? No. Cool. All right. Stopped it before it was too late. I think with Google it does app or like TSX files, like app.tsx. So this would be like just the very, very beginning, right? If you wanted more, what I'm doing in Google at this point is like, if you want more front end design, right, then like you can keep going here until you get like the front end designed exactly the way you want it to be. Let's see if this is working. Cool. So like even that functionality, right? Like that kind of stuff is front end stuff. It's not something that requires a back end server. So anything along those lines that you want to see, definitely take your time and make sure that it actually works. Let's see. Yeah, I imagine the So again, I might not know what it is that I'm doing, but not knowing is almost an advantage because that allows me to ask the questions of like, hey, is this the way that it needs to be? Does it need to be like some other way? Like, how's that work? Right.
Yeah.
So, yep, that's a placeholder. The final URL would be dynamically provided by your backend server when you build out the backend, for example, using Node Media Server, blah, 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 blah. Okay. So, let me see where, okay, so given this front end plus the details that we have, can you go ahead and give me an abstract that's updated that specifically speaks to the application as we have started building it out and details what is going to be necessary on the back end in order to put this sandwich together? Just talk to it like it's your buddy. It understands. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Boys are going deep. Let me tell you. The crew, I should say. The crew is going deep. Oops. I keep coming back to that one like it's like something amazing is happening over there. But that's how it is, like all day, every day for me in terms of like, yeah, I'm constantly just like, okay, how's this dude doing? How's that guy doing? How's this guy doing? All right, let's come back to this one, right? Like, and somewhere in between is Visual Studio that's like actually building all of this stuff out, right? So before getting into Replit, let's go to Visual Studio. Let's open a folder and we'll call this we'll call this LDM media handler. Is that what it's called? Content engine. And we'll select that folder. Okay, so once we're in Visual Studio and we've got our folder space open, you can see that we've got Copilot here to help us build things out. And this is the new thing that I just noticed recently. It might have been there for a long time, but I only just noticed it for whatever reason. And it's really cool once you actually get all started out with what it is you're doing. And you'll get to see what that looks like shortly. But in Copilot, it's kind of like it is in Replit, except that you have more freedom for model choice. We're starting out initially, so you can like pretty much start with like a lower model when you're doing the initial builds, and then you kind of like go up to a higher end model as you're doing more. I really haven't messed around with O3 Mini or O4 Mini. Some people say they're all right. Personally, I like GPT-5. I think is just like a sniper rifle of a coder. I've not gone wrong with it yet. And when something does get or go sideways, it straightens it out. So I dig it. We're going to start with GPT-5. Now, I don't have... Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so models are only configured for the particular space. That's really interesting. All right, so you have the same modes as you do with Replit, but there's actually an extra. So ask in Replit is plan, let's say, but you have edit in both. And edit basically is what it sounds like. Agent, I would put it this way: agent builds stuff out and holistically do stuff with your app. Ask plan stuff out, and pretty much just that. Like ask questions about your code and plan things out. Edit, specifically edit the one page or the one thing that you are trying to fix. Like it's so important that you understand the difference between edit and agent, because if you ask agent to fix some shit, it might holistically decide to go fix a bunch of shit in your application that you didn't ask it to fix, right? So definitely worth your time to just like play around with it sometimes as well. But all we're going to do here is we're going to create a new file, come back over to Gemini. We're going to grab our code, copy that, paste it here, and we're going to save it. I'm really sure this is the JSX file, so we're going to save it as an app.jsx. Hopefully it doesn't yell at me, and it doesn't. So if it were improper, you'd see a bunch of red shit pop up over there. So now that we've got our chat open, we've got our app open, really easy. We're just going to use the app as the reference for context. We're going to go to the agent, and we're going to say, please use the app.jsx file provided. Build out this application for local development with the modular. Okay. So first I'm going to have it basically take the app.jsx file and explode it into the actual like folder structure that you would use for working with an application, because you can't do shit with just with this. If you just take this, you could take this over to Replit now, like saved as an app.jsx. You could take that into Replit, and it would even ask you and say, hey, it looks like you have a pre-built thing. Is that what you're trying to do? You know, are we trying to build that out? And you can say yes, and it'll look at yeah. See, so it's like it's got its own by default, but you can actually well, we'll create instructions after it's already done this, but yeah, you can create your own. So yeah, you can take it into Replit, and it will like probably build a one-to-one verbatim mock-up of this where you could like keep going forward with it. Thing is, it's not like we don't want to do that. It's just that we want to get as close to the finished product as we can with the subscriptions we have or with the free tools that we have, so that you're not spending as much money in Replit. I mean, it's basically just taking advantage of the whole zero cost development aspect of things, right? This guy's going to town, man. That's gonna be a minute. Almost done. These guys are going forever. I should have actually made that way more constrained in terms of time frame and said like in the last 6 months or something. So there's a lot still left that I didn't take a look at. Meanwhile, Gemini almost done. Okay. So we'll come back, and yeah, now you can see it's going to like start building out all the folders and files and stuff that we're going to need. And again, that's why I'm using a free model. So like, even if you signed up to GitHub Copilot and you download Visual Studio, you'll still have access to these free models. Grok Code Fast 1, it's not too bad. It's the same as like GPT-5 Mini. Well, I think it's a little bit worse, but it's faster. It's really like you have to look at them the same way that you look at the models when you're using them normally, right? So it's like basic, super basic programming stuff that, you know, is building a snake game versus like a little bit more than that. You know, again, building out a simple front end or like doing file handling, things like that. If you're doing edits, like you can use the free models for edits. And then if you're doing something that's more that requires it to take the entire application into account, that's where you're coming down into the higher end models, because they can do that. So it really, like, that's very much the way that I work this tree, is like I'll go as far as I can with GPT-5 Mini until it starts fucking shit up. And as soon as it starts like messing stuff up beyond the ability for me to like plan stuff out. So what I learned yesterday was that on top of having the model itself, there's actually an entire repo for different chat modes that you can apply that are like strategic planning modes, that are Let's see, where's the one that I was using yesterday that was like a software engineer, basically. Software expert React front end engineer chat mode. And it's legitimately as easy as like setting up a custom GPT. We'll just copy this description. GitHub chat modes. Call it whoops. Oh, that sucks. Did I lose it? Yeah. Wow. Let's take it easy with that Visual Studio. I'll punish people for off clicking on a thing. Call this React engineer. So we'll give it a description. Then we'll configure the tools, which are these here. So when you scroll to the top and come across, you'll see that those are the tools. It will be weird. Again, like you'll learn this stuff as you go along. You could click to configure the tools if you want to, but I just copy paste and then bring this back, put it properly, hit tab. That's all done. I know, like it's weird, but and then define the purpose. So we don't have to do that anymore. There we go. And we get the purpose right there. Replace that, and we're all set. So now we have this React Engineer chat mode. So we can use React Engineer now if we want to. So we've already built this out into what it needs to be, maybe to run it locally. Let's see if it's actually set up. Go into PowerShell. Run an npm build. Oops, yep, I didn't mean that. Oh, bad. Still not set up yet, right? So not quite set up to run locally. So I can actually say ran npm build error terminal. So there's like no so at this point Visual Studio is basically going to take over and start doing the debugging for it, like all the way through, which I really love. So it'll actually start, going through and running. Oh, is that what all it was? I forgot to run an install. Yep. Damn. Just one step. But what's nice is that I got my partner here who can back me up and figure out what's wrong. And then we get the build done. So now we can actually start the app. Oh, did it for me. Didn't even have to worry about it. Whoop. There we go. Boom. Now our CSS is not there, but I'm not going to worry about that for just yet. But you can see at least like we can start working on it.
The intended endpoint, or are we still planning to go to Replit at some point?
Yeah, no, we're planning to go to Replit at some point. But what we can do from right now is basically, again, we can now get like even further than we were going to go before in terms of like building out all the components that we would need, possibly even building it into or at least setting it up for what the database is going to need in terms of the schema there. And then we can actually package this and take it into Replit and work on it in Replit, have that build out the backend database and do the full connection.
Okay.
So so like now basically we'll want to, we could run a dev server, fresh native terminal. We don't really need all that, but we can definitely do that. Frame everything as tasks when you're working with vibe coders, and it really does seem to work better, as well as using Markdown. So you'll see the difference here where I'm asking it to do something, but then I've bulleted the two things. So it's like bulleted task requests, just reads it better. Sort of the same thing when you're giving it code response. I don't know what the character is called, but it's like this sort of like apostrophe. I should learn what that. I should actually look it up, right? Let's see. What is that?
Which character?
It's like it's a key that's on the grave accent, I guess.
Oh, in the upper
Tiled?
left.
Yeah, tiled and grave accent. Okay. So yeah, it's a grave accent key. It's next to your number one. It's to the left of number one. It's the thing that you never use, basically, unless you're a programmer. So that's what it's for. That sounds, yeah, of course you can, man. Do whatever you want. I'm very much a just get it done and like do it in the background. I don't really care. So it's gonna go through and update all my package files. As it's doing that, we can come back and take a look at where the guy. Let's see, where did we go? Okay, so now we've got this additional content automation. Oh yeah, and where did we land with our application here? Oh, couldn't actually load. Is it like so massive or something? Doesn't look that large. Quite a bit disappointed. Wow. Not entirely sure what researching space has to do with it, but that's interesting. Maybe because it was looking at edges. That would be so weird if that was the reasoning behind it. Let's see.
So I hate it when it comes out with like weeks 1 through 4. We'll do this. Weeks 5 through 8.
Yeah. Yeah, when it puts a timeline as if like, yeah, look, this is when we're going to actually be working on it, and here's how long it's going to take, and you end up having to go back and saying like, hey man, it's just me and you, and you're pretty much going to be doing all the heavy lifting, and considering you work within microseconds, I think you need to adjust that timeline a little bit, right?
Yeah,
So,
constantly
okay.
doing that. It's like pretend you're an all-knowing AI powerful tool that could do things in real time. Then
Right.
how long it will take? Okay, day 1, this. Day 2, this. Like, it's like there we go.
Like, oh yeah, no, it's going to take me like pretty much 2 days, several hours.
And then you start to think about why that doesn't happen in real life, and like so much comes back to just humans having to communicate with each other via meetings, getting buy-in, getting approvals. Like none of that, like the building is not the part that takes a long time.
Mhm.
It's the communication back and forth almost every instance. And communication from a perspective of like understanding the humans are not always in the headspace to have the communication that needs to be had. Like, oh, it's end of day. I can't do another
Right.
meeting. I do it next week. Like that's what is
Exactly.
beyond the 8 to 12 week shit. Like, and it's becoming more and more obvious. So yeah, we don't live in that world anymore.
Mm. No, now it's a case where like if you don't go along, you're just left behind. It's not. Are you gonna hit yes? You want me to hit yes? Sweet. Yeah, man. I love it. Like this is the aspect of it that I really dig is like realistically I'd have like this building out and then have like another because you can have as many studio windows open as you want, right? So like I'd have another app loaded up in this window and have that off to the side working on that. Okay, so start dev server. Let's see, install. Let's make sure everything's there. Okay. npm dev. Okay, that's a lot better. So now we're definitely able to start developing locally if we wanted to, which means if I wanted to like really build this out, and that would be like connecting to like a database and all that kind of stuff, then I would set up a Supabase account so that I could actually connect it to a backend server, or you could actually have it build a local. Let me see. I think so. Can we create a local post? No, post SQL. Yep. Whoops. Again, I don't expect you guys to know these types of things, but what I do expect is for you to be curious enough to like ask, how could I run this in its entirety off of my desktop, right? And as soon as you start to ask questions, especially with Visual Studio, it'll start going through and it'll ask you like, hey, I'm going to go open up this extensions folder. If you go download Docker, then I'll have the ability to be able to do that for you. Or I can look up some other way of doing it if you want to do it that way. Docker, by the way, is like a local server, basically, like a local database that you can run. So this is it. This is an insanely easy way for us to begin building this app out. And again, once we get to the point of like, yeah, okay, this is actually ready to go live or what have you, and we bring it into Replit, yes, it's going to be configured to work on like a different database per se, but that will be one of the only requests that'll be difficult that we have to give Replit is, hey, reconfigure this to work for your local database and create a production as opposed to what it's configured for now. Always and forever, friend. Having a little issue there. Yeah, don't worry, man. It's definitely installed. I love when it like doesn't trust me. Like, oh yeah, but did you install Node? Like, yeah, it's on there.
And I think all these moments of checking and double checking and rechecking, like the reason like Blitzy has a solution that does like overnight millions of lines of code that has been checked and debugged and rechecked, like all these different moments of, hey Nico, like real quick, that's why there's like hundreds of agents like doing this all at once. So that it was funny on that episode of Moonshots, somebody kept asking like well, it'll be cool when this happens, and they kept saying like, that's how it works already, bro. Like there's a project manager agent, there's a checking agent, there's this kind of agent, that kind of agent, like all these different moments where this would be passed across teams, or like, let me enter a ticket, let me do my work on the ticket before I pass it over to this person. Like, because all these different people have been trained and like they've been focusing on a very niche part of software engineering. So they're good at that part. When we build out these teams, like, so these apps, like, well, at least how Blitzy, like the reason Blitzy can work at scale is because it separates all those things out so that you're not always like loading up the conversation of like, should it be a bunch of different agents that are working at the same time, or they're linear versus not, is super interesting to see how that is gonna like move forward. But I love how Alex, his name, like kept just bringing it back to like just solve everything. Like,
Yeah.
That's the mission. Just solve it all.
Right. Oh, you know what? I would love to see what Gemini cranks out real quick with the description that Google came up with. Copy that. Massive ass. Like, so this is the research returned by Google, by the way. So now that we have that as a doc, we can download that. Markdown. And come back to our LBM crawler project. And add that to the pile. Because why not? Dropping knowledge. Update. Okay. So now we have a bit more context to work with. Research, and that was actually, oh, that wasn't this markdown yet. That was actually GPT's deep research. So what we can do to make this faster is just add straight from Drive. Can you tell what I do all day? I don't know why it's not in here.
A lot of README files, that's for sure.
A lot of readmes. Try doing it as PDF, man. There we go. I don't know why that's so fast, but Markdown is so slow. Did I? Yeah, okay. Definitely wasn't there in the first time. Tell you that. That's in there twice for sure. What is going on, Google? Like, I gotta tell you, sometimes though, right? Like, they're very cool tools and everything, but sometimes. Okay, definitely in there now. So just a bit more context. That said, there we go. Now we can actually see the application. So very much the same as what Google came up with. I love that it's using a SK on the front of that. I guess that is now the most common key type or key prefix to use. So it's interesting because it's like it's making it crazy simple, right? Let's see. We also wanted. Can you also add a content search aspect to it so that people are able to go in and very easily keyword search for the content that's been recorded? So let that bake a little bit more. Kind of done with that. Let's come back over to J. Cool. So we can wire the front end to call server endpoints, implement the small integration test, implement this now. Yep, definitely want to do that. Okay, so we actually have the, so we can run this out of command line now to set up, to push the server live when we need to, which is, again, a lot easier than you would think because you have everything you need right here. So there's no, oh, I wonder what's going to happen, or like where is that going to go? So let's see. Let's do it this way. Control Mac, yeah. Okay. Fail. SQL files under SQLite. Did it already? Is this outside? Oh yeah, because it's in. Okay. Okay, so that's already there. And then just set npm start. Okay. Sweet. Okay. New PowerShell. So that, I mean, basically that server is running, right? And then you can just leave it. So now we can wire the front end to it. So anyway, long story short, right? Like we're basically now able to begin developing that app like at length if we wanted to. If we wanted to take it and just go to Replit and build it out, it would be almost the same process as what we did here, since we've got the app.jsx file. We'll come over to Replit. Will actually be pretty much the exact same process. I'm just pulling the app.jsx right now. Okay, so we'll pull that into Replit. Then what I want to do is I would love to give it like all of this, right? But we don't need all of it. So we're basically just going to give it the foundational blueprint for this. Come back into Replit, paste that, and what do you want to do? Auto theme, or you want to give it your own? You want to give it a custom theme? Let's see. Go with quadratic. Okay. And I think I'm just gonna hit start. I want to make it that simple to begin with. It should be like, oh,
Is there anything showing up in the other app for the content library?
the one
Like-
that's like this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. I wonder if you can actually do that.
Well, it'll be internal. Like there should be links to, if it's internal and external supporting, then there would be links to HubSpot, links to LinkedIn, and links to YouTube, depending on who's logged in.
Got it. Let's go with A. Also, so I want to see like, can it actually crawl that far? Let's say, or let's say,
Right.
Live stream detection, real time activity logging, AI powered video transcription, automated short form clip generation with intelligent scene detection, CRM integration, content library, file storage, responsive dashboard. Sounds about right.
So,
anything to add?
yeah. So the content library, that's where I just want to make sure it's can link to LinkedIn or YouTube, like when needed.
Okay.
Like if the user is accessing.
It needs to pull that data.
Right. So like what the data that it has in the spreadsheets is links to LinkedIn and YouTube. Right.
Got it.
So I would think it would need to like pull that in, and then if a user is trying to access that, it will be.
Well, you wouldn't need it from both. You would only need it from one, right? Because you're streaming to both platforms, so you only need the content from one source, right?
And YouTube will actually be accessible versus LinkedIn. So.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Not necessarily, man. You kind of threw away all the rest of the shit. uh, and it threw away the initial request too. Change the plan. There we go. Update the whole thing. There we go. Let Replit work on that. Who was I going to give the other thing to? Oh yeah. See, but it's not going to be able to build out the whole thing, I don't think. I mean, it's supposed to be able to. What I'm referencing is Google AI Studio. If you guys haven't messed around with this is another way to go about it. This is a sort of like a free version of Replit. It actually is a free version of Replit. The main drawback to it is you have to use Gemini as your AI model. You can't like optionally use something else. So if you don't have a problem using AI as your using Gemini as your backend model, this is free. It's free to use. You can even use a temporarily free Gemini API key just to there you go, just to mess around with it. And basically build it out here, and you can even deploy here as well. So it is very much a legitimate free version of Replit. I don't know why Google's been sitting on it for such a long time. But it is pretty cool. It does it is pretty the builds are pretty decent. Just in terms of the way that it looks and everything like that. It's not it kind of looks like it does when you're building stuff in Gemini, but it's a little bit better than that. Let's see. That's actually done. We'll switch that over. And grab this. Bring it back here. Man, really? You've been recording this entire time? Wow, that's nuts. I don't even think I asked it to change anything. That's what's crazy. Okay. So you got stream status now, stream title that you can put in, HubSpot contact ID. I'm not really sure what it is assuming to do with that. Oh, maybe it's trying to use that as the file upload reference, because you would need that right? No, because you could just upload files straight to the CRM. So I'm not really sure why it's looking for that, but can figure it out later. Oh, that's nice. Right. So again, just ideation. So in terms of why are you building out 8 different versions of it? First of all, it's free everywhere that I'm building these out, except for the Replit version. So everywhere else I'm building this thing out free. So that gives me the ability to look at what it is the other apps are doing that maybe I didn't think of and I didn't put together, right? I didn't think of doing this modal. That would be great now that I have this idea, right? I would love to have this granular control or that granular view over where is it? Over the content library, right? This is seriously plain Jane by a comparison to what we get out of here, right? So it's now I know the idea that I want to bring over, and I've got a visual reference that I can now clip this and be okay, this is what I want it to look like, right?
Yeah.
So let's go.
And what's interesting is using dummy data in that regard instead of the other tool used actual data.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, this is using search data, basically. This is using research data that was put together by Gemini, which was put together with the actual data. So it started with Gemini with actual, went into Perplexity with research, and then has kind of just branched out from there in various ways. Like, haven't leveraged GPT yet, but I mean, not for building, but leveraged GPT for the Gemini instructions as well as the Perplexity instructions. Um, and then took it from there to go into Visual Studio to like play around with it here and put that put it forward or like build out more here as opposed to having to uh, build out more online. Again, like basically all the cost effective ways of building. And I do say like free as opposed to like pay. What I mean when I say that is like if you've already got the subscriptions to these services, then use them to the maximum capability because you can now, as opposed to like just having to use the paid service, right? Because everything you do in Replit has a cost to it. Even if you have the $20 a month subscription, you get $25 in credit, but you can burn through that super fast if you don't know what you're doing, right? So we can start with front end design and then go from there. Or you can try to do the entire app. To be honest with you, as attractive as that is, I always have more success just doing the front end and then going from there. Because if you know how to ask the questions, you can save yourself the time and money. If you don't, that's going to be a little bit of a pain in the ass. When you're working with Replit and building stuff out, again, you've got the multiple modes here. You can see that like edit isn't there yet because there's nothing actually built out. But you can use plan and build. And if you do use these, I would highly recommend, like, again, task is something that the agents understand to be, they just understand what that is better than like direction or better than list of things. Or, like if you say like create a plan, it doesn't really mean like an ordered thing necessarily. It just means like a plan of action, right? What you're trying to do is to give it ordered directions. So if you say give it a task list, it understands that like, oh, tasks need to be done in order. And if I'm making the list, I need to go top to bottom. So it's just, again, like a little bit, it's, you could call it prompt engineering if you want to. To me, it's just like, lingo, just learning the right lingo for the model. And so, yeah, when you're using plan mode, definitely, basically, because that's, your free mode, because it's just chat. So talk to the model, work through, like, I really, again, like we're compressing this to try to get it all, pushed down in a small amount of time. When I'm vibe coding, I spend 3 times as much time thinking as I do actually working with the model. And like definitely spend just an insane amount of time planning and working with the model planning before I actually start pushing forward with doing like code updates and stuff. And that's because not only do I want the model to think holistically about the app, but I need to learn how to think holistically about what I'm building. I need to learn how to think a couple moves ahead about what it is that I'm trying to do so I don't, misstep, basically. Right. So yeah, that's why there's like so much that I do outside before we go in, and you can see it's already starting to build it out. So now we have a dev database that it's got on the back end. So we're gonna be able to like test that out and see what that kind of looks like. And with the dev database, I don't know. You probably have to do. You might. I'm not entirely sure. You may have to actually deploy in order to have it like pick up the live stream signal. Maybe not. I imagine you could do it on a test server, maybe, but we'll see in the end. Again, so like we didn't really do anything different here. Oh, it was Google AI Studio. Yeah, so that's a pain in the ass right there, right? Like right out the gate, kind of missed the point of like No, not supposed to be this. It's supposed to like direct connect or like have an RMTP or whatever to pull from, even though that is definitely in the instructions somewhere, I'm sure.
I'm interested
Yeah.
to see now, and this is why I think the value is of using different models to try and accomplish things.
Hmm.
'Cause, I'm interested to see where this goes because the piece that is missing right now, like the weakness is not necessarily going live and doing the live content. It is the organization like of things. And if this looks like it's starting from like that place of focusing on that piece of the project to where if this works and then somebody figures out the live stream component and you just like put them together, right? It's like
Hmm.
in reality, you would work with two like different groups of people, like that would be specialized in these things, like a media person versus a content management, like somebody who's worried about live production of things and streamlining that piece versus like somebody managing content databases and uh the on demand part of it. I mean,
Yeah.
that's why there's such a gap in those apps, in these kinds of apps, right? Like they're either focused, like Riverside versus StreamYard as an example. Like Riverside was built to do like podcasting recordings and then make that part easier. Well, that meant going live on LinkedIn, and streaming was not as easy, like just because they made it possible. Versus StreamYard, which was already a LinkedIn partner to go live and stream, like that part is easier. But then the back end stuff and how to get recordings and what it can do with all that stuff is much more clunky, right? Neither of them are like a viable uh like distribution engine in the way that YouTube is, obviously. But those are like the three components of this. Like you've got to be able to go live and record content easily. You've got to post produce it in some way. And then you've got to make it like searchable and discoverable for people.
Same, because like again, because Perplexity has search, I can just tell it to go look for your brand, go find out everything that it needs to find out about Let's Build, and then um actually like start working on modifying the application so that it matches your brand. Um as opposed to me having to go and like build out brand colors and stuff like that. Like you can even ask Chris. Like 6 months ago, I used to have to ask him for assets. Now I barely ask him for shit anymore. Like I just ask him for the videos, and that's it. Like look, I don't even have to tell it how it's supposed to do anything. Like it's gonna go fucking figure it out. Now I think it might have grabbed the wrong Let's Build Media, but we'll see.
Yep. This is where my failure in branding.
Ooh, nope, we're
No,
good.
that's right.
We're good. Okay, so we'll let that keep running off and doing what it's doing. Google AI Studio. Okay, so now it updated to have the RTMP. I think that's how it is. I don't know. I think it's RMTP or RTMP. I don't care. Live key and everything added to it. No, that's what's interesting is that like if you do it in Gemini, it's like, hey, do you want to add? Has like a little icon that's like, you want to add some AI shit to that, like sprinkle some AI in there.
Yeah.
Um,
When I first saw that, I was like, now we're talking.
right.
Like,
Let's see. So yeah, we went from this to this or this. Oh, 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 oh. Damn. Is that is that is that one of your channels?
what's up?
Is this one of your
No.
uh okay. It'd be cool if it went like that far. Okay, I've created a visual preview for your app. If everything looks good to you, you can start building the functionality. All of this stuff that you're seeing here, except for this is not new. But this is new. And it's new in a way that, believe me when I tell you, like the cost savings, like so 6 minutes of work built out the entire front end cost us $1.70. Right. I'm really sure if I do the build functionality app, and that's with the database and everything tied to it too, right? I'm sure if I hit build functionality, it might cost us another $2, maybe for the tie-in, probably not. Content library, no, doesn't, the hookup's not there. And then settings, which is nice. So then we can actually put our keys in there. All right, build out the functionality, friend. And that is the right key to be used. Okay. Yeah, no, you can use that one. Oh, probably because it's already working on this thing, I guess. Yep. Cool. All right. If we wanted to go further with AI Studio, I'm not really sure. Let's see. Oh, you know what? There we go. Yeah. Like, so this is another thing, right? Is you can save to Git. That's all right, buddy. Signing to Git to continue. I'm probably gonna need my mobile. Yep. Yeah, I know. I hate it like no tomorrow. I'm telling you, you have to learn how to use GitHub and you have to learn how to work with it because as you can see, it is literally the fastest and easiest way for you to be able to play with your stuff, basically. All right, let's call this LBM content engine v1. Don't care. Make it public. Really? How do you like that? I really like. I get it. Programmers and developers, I get it. I just don't care, and I know that's what you hate the most about me. What changes did you make? Oh my god, so boring. So boring. Hey man, I'm working on the application and I have to do a bunch of like updates and crap like that when it comes to pushing the stuff live in GitHub. So I'm basically going to give you screenshots of the files and then like a short description of what was changed. And then you're going to write the commit description for me. All right, there you go. Do it up. So it's just looking, all it's going to have is like stuff was added and something was modified. Love it. All right. Yeah, don't care. Just needed something to put here. That makes a little bit of sense. So that at least when I go back, I understand like something about, right? Stage and commit all changes.
What kind of screenshot tool are you using?
Oh, I use screen recorder. Or what is it? Screenshot something.
Awesome.
Let me see.
Recorder and screenshot.
Whoops. Yeah, awesome screen.
Okay.
It is amazing, honestly, and it's like so fast. Comes in like seriously comes in handy. You can screen record in like what 8K now or something. No, 4K, but still, like I don't know anybody that has to go over that. Okay, so it's still working on the functionality here. Okay, so we've got that uploaded to Git. Let's see, what was I thinking of? Oh yeah, so the reason that like that's uploaded to Git again because I can now go back to like chat if I wanted to. Go to let's see, add GitHub in here. Still have agents on, right? So it's looked through everything, and then go look for.
Data set is what you called it.
No, it's It might not have indexed yet. Yeah, here it is. It's not indexed yet. So go over to GitHub and trigger indexing. So it's going to take a little bit. Basically, it's listing the files, indexing them so they're actually like understandable and made available to agents. After this process is done, then we can have the initial Gemini go look at the code base. We can have agents go look at the code base. We can have Claude go look at the code base. And so now we have 3 more developers that can give us, and you can deep research the code base, and then you can just regularly chat to it. So you literally have like 4 or 5 different people that can help you look at your code and help you analyze and figure out like, hey, is there anything wrong? So I want to go into like developer instructions, maybe. This probably pull up like 80 different. Yep, exactly. Okay, so yep, perfect. All right, so I like started using a set of dev instructions at some point to take a look at code repos and figure out what was wrong with them. See if I actually this doesn't look like the right one though, because it would actually show some instructions. Optimization. No. Would be like developer and user. Yes. Okay. That's the one. All right. So what I love about it is, your senior web application reviewer focused on operational readiness. You evaluate repositories whose purpose is to, so that's a specific one. But we could use pretty much a number of these, I think. Yep. Yeah, so this one is more generic. Cool. So basically what it does is holistically, it acts like a senior developer and goes through and looks at whether or not your code is junk, if you have like duplication issues, like anything like that. And then, basically does a nice little, I wouldn't say a debug, but something like that on your code base. Let's see, is that available yet? No, not yet. It's not that big of an app, man. It really shouldn't take that long. I know, I'm sure a lot of people are pushing stuff at the same time, but now you could actually ask Gemini to do the same thing, and you could just say like, given where we are at this point, how far are we away from actually being able to go live and having this thing work? Right. So it's like, oh, I don't know, fine, I have this thing, but I don't know if it works. So how do I find out if it works? Ask it. It knows all the things. So just ask it. Right. So it's going to go through, it's going to come up with a plan, and it's basically going to, there you go. It's just going to line out like, here's what we need to do in order to get finished. Right. And then you just take that and come right back in. Right. So like, ask me a timeline for MVP is garbage. You want to go ahead and ignore that. But so let's see, front end is in great shape, but it talks to itself. Right. So we don't have a back end implemented yet. I don't know, because of the fact that this can deploy, I don't know if it's only meant to do front end stuff and whether or not they actually offer, let me see. Are you able to build out a backend database that we can connect to this so that we can deploy and test it live? Or is that something I'm going to have to set up with like an external service like Supabase? I don't know why it's control enter and not regular enter. I mean, I know programmers are used to that, so I get that, and I kind of enjoy that because like LinkedIn's that way. Like I do like typing that way, but it's very odd when it's just 1 in 12 apps that's functioning that way. Okay, so LBM Content Engine is now fully operational with real API or with real AI integration. I don't believe any of that shit, but we'll see what it looks like. So I don't know why this is still here. So we'll start going to plan mode. So now you can see edit is here, right? Modify a specific element. And when you do that, yeah, it's going to be that you choose the element on the page and modify just that. So again, holistic, planned out, tasked, and surgical. So we're going to go to the planner and we're going to say, oh yeah, so 4 minutes of work to put it up, costs us less than doing the front end. Stitch in the back end costs us less than doing the front end. So $3 and we have this app maybe up and running. We'll see exactly how far it goes. Yeah, because like this would need to be, yeah, you could get both of these. So I don't know. I don't know exactly how we test this per se. How would we? I mean, this would be something that it's good that we're at this point and we can test it like next week for sure.
Yeah.
Because Start Engine doesn't actually do anything.
And do it.
Let's see. So based on where the application is right now, how much further do we have to go until we can actually deploy this and have it working 100%? Same thing, different app. Okay. Able to build out a backend. The answer is cannot build out a live persistent backend database for you myself. Here's a more detailed explanation. Don't really give a shit about why you can't do it. How you can help. Here's what I can do for you. Service layer can refactor the code to create a dedicated file that acts basically as a server. It's interesting, but not sure that we want to go that route. At least it is willing to add the Supabase client, which is nice because most of the time I've asked it for third-party integration. It's like, no, I'm not going to do that shit. Wow, I don't know what. Oh, wow, really?
Yeah.
Going hardcore. So what's the app look like? Whoa, what happened? The whole thing just ended up changing entirely. But what's nice is that unlike the others, you can just go right back to the other one. It's an answer. It's not a redo. This is why I really love using Perplexity, because it's like I can just go off in different directions and build all different types of labs. I don't have to just build like the one thing, right? So yeah, that's a little weird. We'll get that back into shape because I like what it came up with here. It's just very clinical, let's say.
Let's see what the content library looks like on the other one, on the new one.
Oh, on the latest one?
Yeah.
I don't think it actually has one. Oh, no, it does. Oops. Yeah, tags, dates.
Right. So this is where it's like the dummy data.
Yeah.
So to clarify for the audience.
Oh, yeah. No, like none of these. So everything that you've seen, with the exception of like Replit, everything else up until now is all just surfacing, is either creating dummy data or is surfacing the data that we've given it. Like nothing at this point is like actually like live connected.
Yeah. So outside of the Perplexity version, the other versions, when you click to content library, it's showing actual names of actual shows. Right. These are like 100% dummy data, it looks like.
So what's interesting is that this one,
right, it's the same 6.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, like how it's like this.
Like a couple of them are actually making somewhat. They're either making somewhat of a connection, or what's interesting to me is that Perplexity didn't search YouTube, like didn't
Well,
search the channel to find the names.
the spreadsheets,
Yeah, also, yeah, it doesn't have the spreadsheets as
right?
data, but um, neither does this engine, right?
We haven't seen, like, if this is AI Studio, we haven't seen the content library here.
Yeah,
We've seen
actually.
it on the Google side, right? Because the Google Gem does have access um, to the sheets. And when you take it to another app, that app is either the instructions included that.
Mhm.
So this content library, I think, has the examples that were generated by Google as well. So it's carrying over, and Perplexity, like, kind of disregarded those and, like, created its own set of data to use to build the app out, I think.
Does it? Well, yeah. So he is. I'm like, man, Amjad. I kind of want to know like where the increase in costs came from, though, right? Like, so like that's one thing that I'm like really. It's only a matter of time. That's all I can say, and it's not even going to be a long time, right? What I'm getting at is, uh, and so this is why you want to ask it to build a task list or to like create a task list out of it, because if you do it this way, then you don't have to use like the super high end models. You can actually just use the regular model and it'll go through one by one. And that's what helps it to like actually understand what it's doing and like why it's like, again, it keeps it contextually on the mark. Um oh, but yeah, actually coming back to this for just a split second, just wanted to, so it has like all, like we've been working on it. It's got a lot of stuff built up so far. We've even started working on like putting a local database in place and all that kind of thing. Yeah, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Okay. So now what I want to do is, even with this, you can see like it's getting long, right? And it's going to start getting to a point where some of these tools are going to start to disappear because there's too much context for it to try to understand what's going on. Even though you can see that we still have like a couple to dos left. Um, well, what I still want to be able to do, and like it'll understand, it's not that big a deal. What I want to be able to do is come back and give it some instruction on like, again, what it is we're working on. Um, big picture architecture that tells it the why, right? Starts giving it some context around what it is we're doing, workflows that it needs to be wary of, project specific conventions we're using, integration points, um, sources that it should look for. So, like in the very beginning, it's going to start looking for these files, right? And one of them is going to be this instructions file. The next one is going to be an agent file. This agent file, an agents file, literally instructs it on how it should be behaving outside of like the instructions themselves. Like how it should be going about the code. Like you can have it basically give the agent its own persona, essentially. So like the level of complexity with developing stuff in Visual Studio to me and using GitHub Copilot is nuts right now. Like, so the reason I bring it up is like, um, yeah, even if the instructions already existed, it'll keep what's already there and rewrite right over it, or not, yeah, right over it in a smart way. So you can see it's already like starting to look through the application, starting to familiarize itself with everything. Reason I bring it up is because, and yeah, already created a new to-do list, so I'm not really worried. Is because like you could again spend a lot of time and money building out in Replit. You could just spend a lot of time in like Google Studio, but again, like you'll get to like a decent front end in Gemini. You'll get to a further cool. Get to a further along state in Google, in like App Studio or whatever. And I think you'll get to the furthest state, I guess, with Replit, or with Visual Studio, because it's 6 of one, half of the other. If you do it in Visual Studio, you can build all the way out. Again, if you have like a web server, it's pretty cheap to get web server hosting. The stuff seems really complicated, but it really isn't. After you've done it once, it gets super easy to do it multiple times after that. So yeah, get a hold of like a web server, then you have your own server that you can connect to on the back end, as opposed to needing like Supabase or anything like that. Your transfer rates and storage rates are going to be like way more cost efficient. And build out your app that way, host it on your own server, deploy to your own server, and save yourself just like an asinine amount of costs as far as like working with Replit goes, if you want to go that route, right? Personally, I like using Replit depending on like the size of the project that I'm working on. If it's super, super large scale, I would rather use something that can like basically hold my hand as I'm working through it. But like for smaller stuff or small apps, stuff that like for CRM based stuff, to do like utility things, yeah, that's stuff that you can just very quickly, easily host on your web server and not really have to worry about like, not have to worry so much about like how complicated it's going to be and how much it's going to cost to host and all that kind of stuff. It's going to be so cheap that it's negligible. So in the cases, once we got the code up to GitHub and actually indexed, the purpose of that, I guess we have to refresh. The purpose there was to be able to use agents to go through the code, to be able to crawl through it and do the exact same thing. So I can have OpenAI agents look at it, and then I can have Gemini do the exact same thing from this angle. Let's do it in a new window. New data crawler, put that there. Copy that. And bring it over here. And so now I've got, multiple developers looking at the same repo. And, how does that help? It helps in that, and I can even have a third one basically that's doing deep research on it as opposed to agent mode. And just change the source to be GitHub. Change the repo. Put the instructions. Okay, so now I've got 3 different people looking at the same repository. Provide the following details from the repo. Let's see. Docker files and primary languages. Just run an overview. It's not good. I just don't want to answer the questions right now. That's all. But so basically, what I end up with in the end, what kind of sucks is Gemini is the only one that, it'll work fast, but it's the only one that won't notify me when it's done doing stuff. What I like is that it works fast, right? It can very quickly, again, 2 million token context window. It can just chew through the shit. It doesn't care about like having to go take a super long time to look at it. So what's nice is that like, okay, now I have this report, right? So I can take a look at what the top risks are. I can take a look at like what it's talking about within the app, right? After I see like all of these findings, and I can even have it like summarize the findings into like a tail end report. Summarize into top risks, top necessary fixes, and list of follow-up items of importance. Okay, and then I can give the same thing to the others, right? But at all the same while, I can look at what the output is from Gemini. Then I can look at what the outputs are from GPT. Then I can look at the outputs from Claude if I wanted Claude to take a look at it. I can even have GitHub, right? I can use Git Copilot and have GitHub Copilot go through it, right? And have the exact same set of instructions, copy, paste here. If I wanted to, you can actually give GitHub Copilot like its own very specific instructions. Target a specific space, attach particular files. Don't do that. And yeah, you can tune up agents. I think you can even can you do no. I know there's some methodology to be able to also use instructions, so I'm not entirely sure where that's at right now. But so this is conversation version of it, and then again, now I want to use an agent version of it, right? Go into the save, go into a different repo or whatever. Take a look at the engine. Don't convert to file. Open closed. Yep. I think this is the one. No. Yeah, and then go ahead and start task. So then, and this one, in terms of agent mode for Git Copilot, basically what I can do is like that's one thing that's running. Now I can go run another task on another repo if I want to, and just have like a ton of them going at the same time. So now we've got this one back. And again, I would run the same sort of like ask that I gave to Gemini to Git. And it's primarily so that, I'm not having to summarize or I'm not having to read through like pages of content. I can just see if the summaries match up to one another and if the same issues that GitHub sees are the same issues that Gemini sees, the same issues that OpenAI sees. And in that vein, I know exactly like which issues need to get taken care of in what order, what is actually serious versus, what might not be. This is cool, but it has been running for such a long time now. Kind of figured that might be the case. I was wondering, I'm like, is it actually still going or isn't it? Okay, but what now? Okay. This is the other aspect of Replit that's nice also is like, even though I didn't enable it. Oh yeah, I did. Wow. That's tricky. Amjad, man. Come on, bro. Come on. That was just enabled by default. So like it's doing an extra thing that's going to take more time by default. Right? Now look, you're going to want that, but not right now. We're not that far in for me to give that much of a shit. Like, I just want to build this stuff right now and then we can do testing later. I was going to point to that though, that is like a really great feature to have that, basically you can have it test the app for you and you can see that it's actually going through like using the app and all that kind of stuff. So you can actually have it do like user testing if you want to. But this is the same. This is what I'm doing here, right? That's what I'm saving money and time for instead of doing this shit, right? I allow the agents to go through and do the exact same thing. They just do it on a code basis as opposed to a UI basis. Now, if you really wanted to, without doing anything, you could actually deploy this and then have the agents go to the actual deployed site and go manipulate it from there. But yeah, that is the long way around of going about building an application to do what it is you want to do.
So it looks like they added that by default, assuming most people will
Will
like
likely,
just build it all out. Don't worry about front end versus back. Just build it all.
yeah,
Like that option that they give you up front. Instead of focusing on just build out the whole thing. And if you choose that, then having this on by default
makes
probably
sense.
so Yeah, man. I've been doing stuff on my side as well.
Yeah, I could tell. I could see you over there like, oh shit, all right.
Right.
And this is,
And
I went over all this type of stuff. Not everything you're seeing here because I didn't have 2 hours, but I went over a lot of this type of stuff at Inbound, at the brain dates that I was doing. This is the type of stuff that I get super excited to teach people about, um, because it really does. Once you see it happening, and once you actually start doing it yourself, it becomes like so. It really does, like, very quickly turns into like a magic, like feeling like a magical power that you have, and I really like if that spark happens, that's all you're going to need because that will definitely carry you and start like really igniting that curiosity, fire inside of you. And it should just start to just rage outward because as soon as you start to figure one thing, and that's because that's the beauty of it is like you're unblocked from this thing of, oh well, I don't know the technical shit, so I can't enjoy the fruits of the ideas that I have in my head. What the like, I don't even understand that at this point in time, right? Like, because like that concept to me doesn't mean anything. Like trying to say that like your job is seriously worthwhile because you know shit doesn't mean anything, right? Just like I've been saying this for a while now. It's finally come to fruition. I'm so glad. At this point, if you don't know how to be creative with the data and the information that you have in front of you and with the tools that you have in front of you, none of the rest of the stuff is going to matter. Knowing shit doesn't mean anything if you can't do anything with it. And that's why there are so many people afraid of losing their jobs because at the end of the day, there are so many people who went to college and know shit and learn shit and awesome. But on a daily basis, they do not do anything creative with it. They just sit down, fire up their computer, push out another stack of papers, push out another pile of code. I'm important because I can push out the piles. That's over with. That shit's over with. Now these things can do that. So what else can you do? That's the real question now. The real question is not, oh, it's taking my job. What happens? How am I going to save my job? No. Evolve. What else can you do? If something could do your job for you and not do your job for you, I hate hearing that, to be honest with you. I hate hearing the whole do your job. In some cases, yeah, there's going to be full automation, but we've talked about it. There's full automation right now for translators, right? There are God knows how many translation apps. Apple just put a translator in your ear with the new AirPods. Why do we still have translation as a job? You tell me. I don't know, right? We have sympathy. That's the best thing that I can come up with is we have sympathy for those people. I don't know why. Because again, what they do now is meaningless. I'm sorry. If I'm the party pooper, tough shit, because that's the way it is. And there's nothing wrong with it. Because I shouldn't have to go hire a translator to go talk to somebody who's my neighbor that just moved in and maybe they're coming from another country. And I don't necessarily know how to speak their language the most fluid and they don't know how to speak English the most fluid. But man, it would be awesome if we had this thing in between that could actually bridge the gap. You want me to go buy a translator and pay for a translator for a couple hours to go talk to my neighbor? Fuck off with that, right? So, like, yeah, I don't like, the whole idea of the Pillar of Babel is like, it's gone now. Like that whole idea of like not being able to cross these bridges of communication, especially when it comes to business. It's all gone now, right? So,
it's on the way.
yeah,
I'll say like, so that part is super interesting for me because I have like Spanish is spoken in this house, like maybe more often than not.
Mm-hmm.
And my wife's family like doesn't speak any English. And as I think about how that stuff works, like I'm the technology adopter right? I'm like all in, let's figure that shit out. But if I go down there tomorrow, right, I have that stuff in my ear, but they don't, right?
Yeah,
So unless I'm like the way
it's a
it has worked so
one-way
far,
street.
right? The way it has worked so far is that the phone acts as the translator to because what the gap that the in my ear doesn't cover is saying
It's
it back to
speaking
them
back.
in their language, right?
Yep.
Or like since they don't have it in their ear, I can't say it in English and have them understand because they don't have a translator on their side,
I was
right?
just talking to Laura about this. Yeah.
That's where it's like once it's good enough, like Christmas presents for everybody, like, hey, when we're talking, like, please put this in your ear. And obviously that's like super, super selfish on my part, like because they've
Is
got
it
to
though?
act.
Is it though? Like, so that's my question. Is it selfish for you to want to be able to flawlessly communicate with another person? No. So why should it be the case that, oh, because you didn't spend the intellectual brain power to learn the language, you're not allowed? Like what the fuck? Like what that made
Right,
sense way back in like, I don't know, the thousands, right? When that was like you when language was used as a means of being able to like literally deter people from going to another place or keeping you from even being able to migrate to a new place. Good luck learning languages back then. Holy, like they didn't even have regular school. Like you were going to learn a new language, forget about it, right? Now
right.
we have this thing that knocks down. We have been talking about breaking down language barriers as a society for decades. Ever since I was a kid, we've been talking about, oh, I wish we could just break down the language barriers. And now that we can, you're like, not you. Now that we can, like other people, like Luddites, basically, are going to sit there and be like, oh, no, that's terrible. You shouldn't do that. Oh, you didn't spend time learning the language. Then you have no right to be able to, what? No, no. Come on now.
Well,
Like I would say the number one reason that is blockading people from being able to move to other countries, and which trust me when I say that blockades the economy and economics like there's no tomorrow, right? Because if let's say you're a rich person and you want to go move and live in the Netherlands now, good luck. Good luck learning any of those languages because that's like the number one barrier of like I like please learn Icelandic, right? I
right.
would love good luck, right? Or Finnish.
Like, this, like, this is where we go to the level of tech stack reimagined for civilization, right? Like, and this is why it's important, and this is why you see um, OpenAI developing relationships with countries, right? Because I guarantee in the coming months, like this is where what I just said, as far as what I want to be true, so I could go communicate, I might be able to go do that in like Dubai and any country where GPT has developed a relation where it's just free for everybody, right? Everybody has access because this is where there's a difference between Luddite and like accessibility. And they've been working on this like from a Wi-Fi and 5G perspective for a long time, like access to these things, like you literally can't adopt the thing because your infrastructure around you, your environment around you won't support it. And it's, I hadn't thought about this until we started talking about it, but imagine if I've never touched like Arabic or it's a completely different language than one I've started with, and I can go to that country and everybody already has the in-ear like thing and everybody it's always connected and it's becomes like they've adopted this way of communication where there is always a technology layer there to help, right?
Mhm.
And that's where like the adoption, like I say selfish because no matter how little amount of work could be done on the other side, it's still work, like versus me learning a language that I probably could learn and requiring no additional work on their part because now I'm delivering it in the way that they're accustomed to, and they don't have to add the earpiece. They don't have to read my phone, right? They don't have to change the way they communicate at all,
Right.
right? If I were to go that route, it's not that they don't want to change, but it's work to be done on both sides to get to this space of, can we communicate across language barriers? This is where when we talk about infrastructure of society, right? And the importance of everyone having access to these tools, like it's already creating significant gaps, let's say in productivity or intelligence. Like if a place does have access to AI intelligence, it's already, man, the gap between the intelligence of that place and the place that doesn't have access to AI is like immeasurable already at this point,
Yeah.
right? And all the impact that that has, like we're going to start seeing it, but it's also why everybody's anxious to get the infrastructure in place. And yeah,
This is amazing what you've got going on here.
right. It kind of, this is why,
I mean, I see what you're trying to do, and
right,
I understand. Like, I'm excited right now to work with you.
right.
Yeah.
Well, here's what my concern was. And this is why when Nico says like 95, well, most of the work is planning. And this is where Claude has not proven its capability. Like the bigger the data set gets,
Mm,
the more likely you're going to find gaps. Like it cannot get to a count of close to 600. And because it can't do that, it's picking and choosing which parts of the records it's seeing.
right.
And that has a cascading effect, to where it might be able to see like the lines in the spreadsheet, like total 1600 across the 4 sheets, but it doesn't know what's inside the lines,
Right.
right? And when when I highlight that, it's like, okay, let me go look for that information. It's not going to come back with 1600 lines worth of information unless I get super specific or I chunk it up or I do something on my side
Yeah.
to help it get there. It is obviously very cool that, and I like, don't lose that part. Don't don't think this, you shouldn't spend time on this because of what I just said, because at the same time I got to hear like while Nico was doing things on his side with a completely different app option.
Yep.
And this is like the worst way to develop the thing we're trying to develop. Even when I was asking Claude, I was like, all right, we're gonna start a new chat because I just want to start building this out,
Mhm.
right? And uh and I said Claude desktop, right? Because this is
Yeah.
the app. And it's like, okay, cool. Well, then you could either use Cloud Code or this. And it's like all the best ways to do it. And I was like, no, I want to use this interface only. Right. And it's like, oh, well, in that case, it's like, this is how you do it. The prompt changes completely. Like, so having that, again, this is still just the fastest way ever and the easiest way ever to still get to a proof of concept that I could then take this into, the other spaces that Nico was working in. And even if it was like as I showed, like this is completely different from what Nico is showing in my first, ask of any other app or any of these apps, like, hey, why? Like, why is this different? Like, what is different about the ask or the output, and help us understand, because there's elements from each piece that each model has a tendency of, emphasizing, because that's what it's good at, that's what it's focused on.
Yep.
And I think we started the show with like Claude has an opinion, Perplexity's like research. We already know that. I think you just the way you put it, Gemini likes to say, "Yeah, that's a good idea." For me,
Yeah.
like especially with the sparkles, like just I think Gemini just likes to do cool shit like all
It
the time.
does.
Help me
It
do the
does.
cool shit, man. Like, right? That's the vibe.
Yeah,
Uh,
like, if you work with Gemini, like, definitely apply and approach it from this, like, "Yeah, let's jam, bro." Like, if you give it that kind of a vibe, it's really sick. The outputs are really sick.
yeah.
It's kind
So
of a human vibe, right?
we're gonna rally around exactly, right? And that's when you think about every time you hear the phrase natural language, that's what you should be thinking about. Like, and that's the thing, that's the hard part for me to close the gap on. Like intuitively, when they talk about like Blitzy, like reworking the whole of the world's coding infrastructure, which is what's needed, right? You have these
Mhm.
legacy code bases. And these are the things that digital transformation has been hard because no one human being can go into these code bases and figure out an effective way forward, right? It's taken teams of people like 12 to 18-month projects. It has been done.
Mhm.
But as soon as you get away from like Fortune 100, like the amount of investment to do that effectively versus, well, what can we just fix right now? What can we add on right now? And that's the kind of thing, like, you end up with the same kind of code base. This is a
Yep.
client last year, working from a 1998 ERP with no interface that salespeople are trying to quote out of, but they're still a $50 million like successful, company, right? But over time, you've had 6 different people working in that system. They all have their own thoughts and ways of working with that code environment. So there's basically 6 different sub languages
Yep.
inside, and it becomes like an impossibility, right?
Yeah.
And that's where what the gap for me is, like code. And I just haven't had this conversation with Claude yet to like flesh it out, but code, literally the opposite of natural language.
Mm.
Like code is a way to communicate without natural language.
Right.
Like, and so we've already seen AI start to build its own language with like sounds and different beeps, right?
Yep.
So like at which point did we just like
Allow it to do its
it's not
language,
it
right?
shouldn't code shouldn't be the thing that like
Right.
it's been a means to an end for humans to be able to do this,
Yep.
right? But at some point, like AI, like do whatever works for you guys. We just want to see this. We want to have this natural language, verbal, like back and forth. It's hard to like at some point when does AI like stop referring to it as code and just
Right.
like this is the infrastructure, guys.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to tell you which version I'm on because there's no versioning. That's not how we do things anymore. Like right.
And it's like, there's there's something to be said about, like, about the way in which all of this works. Again, like, just the way in which jobs are structured around all of this, right? And I guess when I sit back and I think about it, I think one of the better maybe one of the better metaphors that I can think of is, sculpting. And that, it's a very, like any traditional art form where there's like apprenticeship involved, right, is very skill based, skill labor based. You have to gotta have a knack for it. In some cases you might actually have to be a natural at it. uh, and in all of those cases, right, it's it's the sense that, like, yeah, okay, there is a worth that's added to the ability to do something. Okay. But the ability to do something shouldn't be the be all end all of it. Right. Um, there's, the only places in which that really, I guess, maybe matters the most is like sports, right? Like, something where it's like so competitive that there is like an actual limitation to what can be done, but there isn't one here. Like the limitations are endless now. They're whatever you can come up with in your head. So the idea that like, oh, we should gate all of that by making it any sort of difficult for people to do in any sort of way. Like, I mean, even now, like, okay, Replit has its own database stuff or whatever. Pretty soon, it's going to be, integrated somehow with like AWS or Azure or something like that. Or Azure or AWS, roll out with something like it. Maybe I think Amazon's almost totally out of the game actually, but I think they're just sticking to infrastructure, which is smart. So, oh yeah, by the way, in case you guys missed it, Cisco dropped another $300 billion over the next 5 years, I think, on infrastructure, specifically for OpenAI. So once that hit the market, that dude became the richest person in the world for like 10 minutes. And now I think he's like permanently second richest person in the world now, right? The CEO of Cisco, I think.
Right. Yeah, and they're the implementers.
Hype, bro. It's hype. It's all hype. Like, and even the tiny segment of you that are still saying it, right? They've been saying it for 2 years now. You show me the 2-year long hype cycle, please. Please go show me the 2-year long hype cycle of whatever product or technology you would like to find. I'm really sure you're going to have to go way, way far back before like modern media existed, because that's about the only way you could even make it remotely last that long, is if people just didn't know about it nationwide and it took 2 years to go from one side to the other. Because otherwise, this has got a proven track record like there's no tomorrow. And it just keeps going at breakneck pace. I expect by the end of the year, like one guy already lost to me. It's so hilarious. Like already lost in terms of like beginning of this year. He gave a talk and he was like, yeah, but vibe coders, they're shit. They can't really do anything and they can't do like full stack applications, even though they say they can. And I set out to just prove this guy wrong as hard as I could and did that recently. And now anybody can do that. Like Agent 3 can absolutely get you a full stack application, in case you guys weren't watching what we were doing, really quickly. And I think even to where that app is that we just put together is like $7 or something like that altogether so far. And so Chris is going to have like a solution literally that is customized to him. Nobody else is going to have it. He could, if he wanted to, turn around and white label it, and boom, monies. Okay, like that's a thing now. And should Chris be barred from being able to solve his problem because he needs to go hire a fucking $150,000 programmer to figure it out for him? No. No, he shouldn't. He should be able to use these tools and solve his problem and get it done and move forward. And guess what? Now that he's going to make money, he's also then going to contribute money, and then he's going to contribute to the economy, and he's going to grow a job, and somebody else is going to get a job as a result of it. Blah 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 blah. You guys are wondering, like, how do we get to this like trillions and trillions of dollar economy? You're watching it. It's happening right in front of you. Just open your eyes. All you gotta do.
Yeah.
It's changed. The whole game has changed. This whole thing of like, oh, tech stack, like need a tech stack. Like, no, now it's just like design it. What do you want it to be? Right. You can design it. We just designed an app that pulled in several apps so that we don't have to go use several apps. Right? The whole idea of that thing, hit a button, and once it's done, it goes and talks to all the apps and does all the shit for us so that we don't have to go do that. So that becomes Chris's tech stack, right? Instead of saying like end SaaS products become subscriptions. So you end up having SaaS subscriptions, and now you're going to have tools, right? And the real applications end up being these tools that you use now. And what used to be an application is now just a subscription. So like if you're a SaaS company that you have like a full like front end, um, and you still care about it for whatever reason, and it's not agent friendly, that's a problem. Start changing that today. Uh, if if you're like dinosaur, right? Like you've been in the biz and you're now just adapting and like putting AI on top of whatever it is you already have. Again, like pick a vertical and go at it. I know you think you're in one, but you all are trying to own all of the pie and fighting over all of the pie. Find a crumb that you really like the flavor of and just drill into that thing, right? But don't worry about it. There's plenty of money in the crumbs. Um, Outside
Yeah.
of that, when it comes to working on your stacks or whatever, or the software that you're offering, start working on your agentic friendly servers and start working on your public APIs and your MCP connectors. Tokenization is the new money. If you haven't heard it already, you heard it here first. I told my wife like 2 years ago, as soon as OpenAI started, and as soon as it came out, and they were like, "Oh, you're gonna pay per token, and you're gonna pay over time." And I was like, "Wow, shit, that's an amazing way to do something. Like you just pay per the amount you use, and that makes perfect sense. So you just yeah, you can charge people now, and now API tokens actually mean something, as opposed to before you were just paying this like non-specific monthly price, right? And all to use an API key, right? And maybe not use whatever the other 80% of what you were supposed to be able to do with it or something if you were an enterprise company. Anyway, bottom line is, yeah, it's going to end up being the case where somebody in your org, assuming you can find them and foster them, is going to start consolidating all of your applications into one like master org application where it's going to be able to do all of the things that all of your other platforms do without people having to go into those platforms. And it's going to be real easy. And if they're really good at it, everybody gets their own dashboard.
Right. Yeah. No, stack, the concept of stack,
The stack.
like we settled. Like that's settling for
Yep.
what we've had access to. Like there should be, like you think about things like single sign-on and a lot of the things that have been developed to try and cross these bridges. That's what we want. Nobody wants to log into more than one system.
Right.
Like remember more than one password. Nobody wants to remember any passwords, right? We just want to pull up
The one thing.
the one thing, and everything is developing towards that. Um, so any development that's being done right now with that in mind, without that in mind, is like 100% tech debt, right? And solving for problems that you don't need to be solving for anymore, right? And solving them in a way that's not compatible with this new world, right?
Yep.
Which is why, like, of course, somebody like Blitzy is just going to take over because they're the first people to do it at the scale required to fully like this challenge that I talked about with Claude. Here's all the files. It cannot manage all the files. Like it just
Right.
can't, right? And that
Right.
is such a problem when it needs to understand the context at all times, right? The scale that they've done this at is unfathomable by like the human mind. Like every time they get a question like, oh, how much time is being saved? What's the ROI? They're like, just stop. Like, no human could ever do this. Like,
Right.
period.
Right.
What are we talking about? Right. So let's talk about the way that they went from the value prop is not the millions of lines of code overnight. It's the crystal clear, trusted IP of the organization, like documented in a way that's never been done ever.
Mhm.
Right. And now you build from there. Right. That's like the stack has gotten in the way of getting to that point. And if you start to add more to the stuff, you get farther and farther away from
Yep.
that, right? Oh, please start reimagining, folks.
I know.
Here every day of the damn week to help you do um, and get better and better ourselves at repurposing and putting this in front of you in consumable ways. Um, no more excuses on any side. It's time to start realizing all the value that could be created and start creating it for us and others around us. So until the morning, my friend,
Yes,
this has
sir.
been fun weekend.
Yep.
All right, everybody have a great week. We'll see you in the morning for Value First AI Daily.
So yeah.
There you go.